It is possible a second wave of COVID could hit certain geographies. In those regions, the talent acquisition team will need to spin up a new workforce each time the economy opens back up. This level of agility is the primary reason legacy technology will not work in the post-COVID HR tech stack.
That's Scott Jennings, the Director of Industry Strategy for Checkr, talking about why traditional HR policies and the process will not work in the post-COVID-19 world. Welcome to Full On Recruiter. We bring to you some of the celebrated veterans and experts. We aim to be your perfect on-the-go dose of recruitment. In today's episode, we're going to hear from our industry expert, Scott Jennings, and his thoughts on what recruitment looks like right now and what it might evolve into. As we watch the coronavirus pandemic unfold, we see countless prediction models on the news and online about what lies ahead for the quest for a vaccine and what the case count may look like months ahead. When the outbreak began, we were like deer caught in the headlights with eyes glued to the news on what might happen next. Now, as the shock is starting to wear off, we're looking for predictions and projections about changes in industries and economies to learn how to fit our old processes into the new, I don't know if it is fair to call this normal, but sure, how to fit our old processes into the new normal. Scott works for Checkr, a trust and safety platform that delivers advanced background check technology along with innovative hiring and risk products to help companies hire safer and better.
Checkr is an HR technology platform that is designed to solve trust and safety use cases at scale for our customers in a very innovative way using automation and technology rather than just simply people and process. So my role in the organization is to better understand how our customers are deploying our technology to solve business problems. And those business problems typically fall in the trust and safety arena, things like background screening, but also continuous monitoring, also taking advantage of all the talent in your hiring funnel. How do you unlock capabilities for customers, and which industries have certain repeatable use cases? So a good example in the retail industry is you're going to see repeatable use cases for how retailers hire in the store, how they hire in the warehouse, and then how they hire in their supply chain and last mile. And each component within those organizations is going to have a different trust and safety risk profile. And what I help the organization do is pull out what those common use cases look like. And then we as an organization make sure that we're aligning our product with how we can best solve those problems for our customers.
What made Scott's path cross with Checkr's was one of the biggest ideas of the last 2 decades. Data.
I spent 20 years in the data and analytics world, so think business intelligence, artificial intelligence, and how to apply those concepts using data to improve business performance across a wide variety of industries. Why I gravitated towards Checkr is that Checkr is doing the same thing to HR. So rather than coming at HR the way that HR has always been addressed from a business challenge perspective, what Checkr did and what drew me to them was they're using data, they're using automation, and they're using artificial intelligence and analytics to tune the HR tech funnel and to make our customers better. So I made a jump from data and analytics into the HR world, but it really wasn't a jump very far. It was a jump that was very easy for me because we're using the same principles from the data and analytics world inside of the HR tech funnel.
Scott sees recruitment benefit greatly from technology and automated systems and believe it holds the key to optimize an organization's hiring funnel. Checkr reimagines the trust and safety arena and looks well beyond just background checks. Scott's experience with business intelligence and analytics gives him the insight that they should be looking at different data points.
From an HR perspective, since I typically have come at it from a broader angle, what I typically see is how all of HR and realistically how the entire business is impacted by recruiting. And then likewise, what the challenges that recruiters have, how that gets impacted across the organization. So for example, if you're a recruiter and you're outsourcing candidates, and let's say you work in food service and you've had a very, very difficult time filling your funnel, what are the reasons that you're having that challenge for filling the funnel? What are the reasons that you're having challenges getting candidates through that funnel quickly, or perhaps they're falling out? That's where I spent the majority of my time, is talking to organizations around those topics, where how do we reduce friction in the funnel? How do we ensure that we can get people to work as quickly as possible and empower recruiters to go out and do their job rather than working on administrative tasks, in particular wrestling with something like a legacy background check?
When COVID-19 settled into the US, Scott wasn't hit with the first punch of working from home like so many other people. He had already been working remotely, and Checkr had a remote workforce in place already. Checkr had to quality assess what was changing around them and what hiring is going to look like for different industries. Without doubt, the biggest demand came for essential workers in huge volumes, and the biggest cutback came from the hospitality industry. Now, these changes introduce a new challenge for recruiters.
It really is a matter of perspective. And from a perspective point of view, when you dig into the challenges that some of these businesses have, the essential industries, their challenge is actually volume. So what they're finding is that if you are, let's say, advertising for delivery drivers, you might have a recruiting spike or a demand spike on your recruiting site that might be 5x what you're used to. And the scenario that I've been walked through is that during a typical hiring spike at a delivery company, there might be 25,000 hits on your website, and a percentage, let's say 20% of those hits on your website actually apply. So let's say 5,000 candidates. In the COVID-19 world, where quite a bit of the hospitality industry has been furloughed or laid off, they're all looking for employment. And so that same demand spike is on the career site, let's say 25,000 hits, but you're getting 25,000 applications. And so what that's creating is this tremendously full, almost overflowing funnel within the essential industries. And that's put a huge burden on top of recruiters, because they have to crunch through all of those applications. They have to do all of those assessments. In many cases, as you mentioned, they have to do that remotely, or in some different fashion than they were doing 3 months ago. And it's put a tremendous burden on them, because now they have to deploy their talent, but they have to get through all of the candidates in that funnel. What's really become an issue for recruiters is any form of friction in the funnel in that scenario. So if your hiring funnel is absolutely overflowing and you're looking to hire, if you run into something like, let's say, closed courthouses for a background screen, which are absolutely going to have to run, if in particular for delivery positions, you're never going to be able to get through that funnel. You're not going to be able to put people to work. The society as a whole is not going to be supported, because they won't be able to get the goods that they need. And those are very, very different style challenges than these organizations are used to. And that's what we're seeing in the essential industries. There's so much volume, it's overwhelming recruiters.
Not only was the hospitality industry one of the hardest hit, but they would have challenges in reopening as well. They have to deal with opening up in pieces, and recruiters will have to quickly hire and scale up when they do. If you need to hire quickly and in large numbers, companies need to embrace a new and improved way.
So when I'm looking at things like virtual recruitment, I would start with completely digitizing their recruitment process using agile technology components to create the ultimate candidate experience. Because one of the challenges you're going to have with virtual recruitment is you're now a layer abstracted away from the candidate. And you're going to have to make investments to make sure that your candidate experience, which may not necessarily have the human touch that you're used to, is top notch. So that when a candidate interacts with your brand, there is absolutely no friction with that brand. There is a beautiful experience for that candidate, and they feel good about working with your organization. Likewise, I could move quality talent through the hiring funnel very, very quickly. So sourcing, assessing, screening, and onboarding. In a perfect world, if you could do that in 24 to 48 hours, I think most organizations would sign up for that. So imagine, if you will, if you had the technology capability to effectively build your hiring funnel into your technology stack and then provide a beautiful mobile experience for a candidate, you might be able to hit that mark of 24 to 48 hours. If you have paper-based processes within your hiring organization or your hiring funnel, you're never going to hit that 24 or 72 hour window and never be able to hire quickly. And you certainly aren't going to be able to execute on a hiring plan where you might need to staff an event that's very, very large on a moment's notice because the economy opened up and all of a sudden that event has been blessed and now 50 or 60,000 people are going to be there and you need to hire 10,000 people to support them.
Remote recruitment is going to be the order of the day, and perfecting that process is going to solve the big problems that recruiters are facing right now. The legacy systems cannot match up to the evolving and fluctuating demand posed by the pandemic, and it is abundantly clear that it is the right step to take. However, there were a few surprises that came from an industry that the news had declared to be doomed, and it offers us hope and also warns us not to be set in our new strategies.
Any of the companies that are involved in hospitality, let's say cruise lines. I mean, cruise lines probably couldn't have a worse reputation than they do right now with respect to how they're viewed by the public. That's the general consensus. But very, very recently, Carnival Cruise Lines in the United States, they just announced that they're overbooked for the cruise that they just announced in August, meaning that their sales in August of 2020 for their August cruise line is better than their sales in 2019. And that seems hard to believe, but it also means that even if you think that there is a piece of the world that has been beaten down or an industry or product category that may not come back, it actually means that industries like that might pop back up and they might start hiring very, very quickly. The same is true with restaurant chains. The same is true for theme parks. There are entire communities and economies built around theme parks. So take something like Disney World. Disney World has not only all of the employees that work for the organization, they have all of the entertainment venues that are around Disney World. They have all of the hotels. They have all the contractors that work on the property. They have the taxi cab drivers, the gig workers. There's almost an entire small economy that's built around a large theme park. And those are the niche pieces that are shut down now. But once they open up, they're all going to have to open up at once and hire immediately.
So here's what we know. Recruiters are facing high demands from certain industries and low demand from some, but need to be prepared for a higher demand from those industries later. Hiring processes need to be optimized to be as fast as 24 to 48 hours and need to sift through a larger number of applications due to unemployment in other industries. So here's what Scott thinks a recruiter's mantra should be.
Post-COVID times, the most important characteristic of an organization is agility, the business agility to adjust to anything the market throws at you. So, and when you look at it from recruiting and talent acquisition, agility is even more important. As different geographies open up, there'll be regionalized hiring spikes to support businesses in geographies that open. In some cases, a talent acquisition team must track down furloughed employees. But in some cases, they'll need to hire large volumes of new talent. The ability to deploy talent quickly as, let's say, a set of hotels or a theme park or some type of regional business opens up or restaurant chain will determine which companies are successful post-COVID and which companies are not successful. Likewise, it is possible a second wave of COVID could hit certain geographies. In those regions, the talent acquisition team will need to spin up a new workforce each time the economy opens back up. This level of agility is the primary reason legacy technology will not work in the post-COVID HR tech stack. Talent acquisition organizations and recruiters must deploy the most agile, configurable, and flexible HR components to be successful in a marketplace that is very unpredictable. Because I think, as we all agree, the only thing we can count on with this marketplace, with the COVID outbreak, is the market will be unpredictable, and the winners are going to be the companies that can actually adjust to the unpredictability, if you will, of the marketplace.
Automation of HR processes and remote recruitment were very much needed changes in the human resource departments and recruiters, and the pandemic just put this change on the fast track. Organizations like Checkr have seen the benefits of having their processes closely wound with technology and data. Now, most organizations have the opportunity to reap the same benefits. It might be difficult to know the changes we would have to make going forward, but we can be assured that optimizing your hiring process and reducing paperwork is a positive and welcome change. But no thanks to you, coronavirus, not even a little, or maybe a little. Why don't you tell us? And towards the end of our conversation, here's what Scott said he is grateful for during this pandemic.
The essential workers that have been willing to get into their cars and deliver product to people that are sheltering in place in their house, to learn new policies and procedures about contactless delivery, and to put themselves out there in harm's way like that, I have a much greater appreciation for that. And I think post-COVID, you're going to see that model increase. And obviously, my respect for those folks is going to increase as well, because I don't think most of us could have done this. Like, I think about this, you hear about the flu outbreak about 100 years ago. They didn't have any of this 100 years ago. There was no capability to deliver products. There really was no capability to shelter in place. You were going to have to get out into the world, and that was going to put you at risk. And many of these essential workers have done that for us. And so I have a tremendous amount of respect for what they've done.
Well, at least we know we're moving forward better than we did in the 1920s, and we are all grateful to those to who have made that possible. So that was your dose on recruitment today from the Full On Recruiter. You can count on us to keep bringing you the latest from thought leaders, experts, and veterans of the industry. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay hopeful. You were listening to Full On Recruiter.